Assalamu alaikum. Sulman Rahim here, Messenger of the Covenant, breaker of the 7 seals. Again, Assalamu alaikum. This is War Talk. War Talk. We are at war, sisters and brothers. War was declared on us nearly 500 years ago. Nearly 500 years ago, they declared total, unrelenting war upon us. That's been going on, raging for nearly 500 years. The ultimate aim is total annihilation. Enslave us, drain us, destroy us. Annihilate us. That's been the goal. Went to the first stage, they enslaved us, boys over here, drags over here. Second stage, they drained us of everything. Even try to drain us of our humanity, destroy us of our humanity. See? They couldn't do that. They couldn't completely do it. They tried. See? But that's where the angel comes in. Because the angel is your humanity locked down. That's your mind. It was locked down. Be given back to you. As it says in Daniel, the lion was lifted up and his mind was given back to him. It says also in Mark, right? The demon-possessed man, his mind was returned to him. So that mind was locked down, right? That's your software, your operating system, locked down with 7 seals. So the right one will come along, unlock it, and start uploading your mind back to you. That's what's in the process happening now. Like I was talking to a brother recently, it's like priming the pump. You gotta prime that pump, prime it. But when you be priming that pump, the water's not flowing yet. You're priming. That's what we're doing right now. That's what I've been doing for the last 30 odd years, priming that pump. And it says that pump will fully be primed when the 4 winds blow. Then the water will start flowing. That truth will start flowing like rivers, drowning out all lies, falsehood, misrepresentations, deceivers, demons. The truth will drop because higher pressure destroys lower pressure. And they're all based on lower pressure. And water is pressure. And that, because that's how you prime that pump, with pressure. Put pressure on it. But see, depends on the pump. It won't move, the water won't flow until the pressure is built up to a certain amount. So it depends on how powerful that pump is. Once you get it primed, right, the more powerful that pump is, the greater the rush of water comes flowing out. See? So we have a powerful pump, and the angel, where we prime it with the angel. Priming it. See? So about when 4 winds, when those winds, we prime the pressure, because when you prime it, you put pressure, you're building up pressure to push that water through. And the water that we're trying to push through is it's like Noah's flood. It is Noah's flood. It's going to drown out everything, all lower pressure, because the demons, the devils, this religion, all this stuff is lower pressure. The angel, mathematical Islam, is the most powerful pressure in the universe. It's going to drown out all other pressure. Just drown. Push it out the way. Just get rid of it. It will not exist anymore. But you got to prime that pump. And that's what we're doing right now. Talking. For the last 30-some years, that's what I've been doing. Now we have some that are standing with me, and they're helping to prime. Prime that pump. Priming it. So it's not doing it in vain, because you got to get it primed. If you don't do anything, nothing will happen. You got to keep putting that pressure in. Keeps building up. See, it's like the walls of Jericho. Read that story, right? That's resonance. See, they was told to sing the same old song, walking around this fortress. This wall was so thick, right, and impregnable that nobody could break it, nobody could get past it. They was told just to march around saying the same old song for 7 days. That's resonance, right? Like a tuning fork. What's that? Remember that Memorex commercial, right? And boom, and then pop. That's resonance. Keep building up the same old. See, keep on the angel. Keep hitting with the angel. Their pressures building up, building up, building up, building up. Instead of it build up so much, by the time the four winds blow, right, it will blow away. See, falls Israel, all of it, whole foundation, everything, blow all this stuff away. See, like it never existed, blow it away. See? Because there's so much. That's how much pressure locked in the angel. Anyway, so as I said, we're at war. We're priming the pump now. We're preparing for battle. Preparing for battle. Some of us already been casualties. A lot of our people are casualties. Like in any war, there's casualties. You see them; they've given up. Right? They turn. They as bad as the demons. See, they've given up. They run over to Master, begging. It's like they begging Master. See, identified. They want this American dream. They've been deceived by the demons, overwhelmed by the devils. Well, we'll address the issue when the time comes. Anyway, what I'm going to talk right now, I'm going to talk about several. This is just part one. See, of the plan. I put a presentation about the general plan. I'm going to speak about specific plans. So this is plan one. This plan is going to talk about the plan against the original nation directly in America. The plan that God and Magog has for us. So I'm going to talk about it and get you if you can see if you can understand it. See if you make sense of things that's happening around you. Because if you look at things happening around you based on your analytical way of thinking that they've taught you, nothing that makes any sense. It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. But from a spatial view, it adds up perfectly. That's what we're going to talk about plan one. Plan one is the plan God and Magog against the original nation. Let us cut them off from being a nation. The name of Israel be remembered no more. See, I told you, a total annihilation is the ultimate goal. That's what it says. It says, abort all the babies, all the male children. Let the women live. Let the females live. But kill. See, yeah, I'm really deep into that because all these things they tell you. It's like, it's like looking deeper and deeper and deeper into it. When you look deep, you get more information. See, so what's it all about? Okay, they brought us over here. Prisoners, raped us, oppressed us, terrorized us. This is a terrorist nation, America. Oh, they're talking about terrorism. How do you think they maintain slavery? You have to terrorize people to keep them enslaved like they did for all those years. They had to keep us in utter terror. That means it makes America a terrorist nation. They keep talking about terror. They're a terrorist nation. And they're still a terrorist nation because they hold a nation in captivity. Elijah Muhammad told you we're a separate nation, but they still God's here in captivity. That's why Moses was told to let his people go because we're not part of them. It says God made a distinction between us and them. They try to tell you, merge in, your melting pot. We didn't ask for that. We didn't sign up for that. We don't want a part of that. Are you racist? Well, look, what's wrong with racism? What's wrong with a person wanting to stand for his own country? Okay, if a person stands for his own family, what's called a familist, or whatever you want to call it. If you stand for your own family, what's wrong with that? That's what you're supposed to. You're supposed to step your family before anybody else. Everybody look out for their own family. And that's where it was before God and Magog was let loose, because you had the Orientals in Oriental land. You had Asian land, African land. You had over here, what they call Americas now, and nobody was bothering anybody else. And all the families, all tribes in their own place, doing their own thing, the way they wanted to do it, following their own culture. And no one was having any problem with that but Gog and Magog, America and Britain. So they got this melting pot. They forced into. We don't want any parties. Oh man, we gotta accept it. We ain't gotta accept none of this bullshit. We gotta accept the LGBT. We gotta accept we gotta accept race mixing. Why? No, we ain't gotta accept that. We doing it under duress. We was forced to be under here. We don't want to be here. Or we gotta accept democracy. No, we don't. We have to accept the damn thing. We didn't buy into this. That's your crap. That stuff you created. That stuff you put together. Then you're forcing us. We don't want no part of it. Now these demons, they come on the TV. Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, because they want part because they're your children. But you ain't put us on there to tell the truth because we don't want no part of it. You got people tell, not only you tell us, but everybody come over here. They come from every country in the land, right? They come from south of the border, come Asia, come China, everything. And they are judges, they tell us what to do. But we don't want any of that crap. We want to live, we want our own nation, be by ourselves, rule ourselves, judge ourselves. We don't want, here we are for it, and then somebody pop over here out of Russia someplace, and now they're going to be telling us what's what? That's your BS. Diversity. We don't want no diversity. You want to call it racism? You call it whatever you want to call it. That's your terms. You make up all these titles and things and tell us that, oh man, well, you call us whatever you want to call us. You've been calling us everything that you can think of since we've been here. We don't want any parts of it. We want to be our own nation, mind our own business to ourselves. But we do it before you drag us over here. We want a part of this. This is not even a culture. You can't even call us a culture. This culture is very, but it's very. If it's a culture, man, it's what it rank it, ranch it, rank whatever. It's foul. It's not a culture. Even everybody in the world said, "What the hell are they doing over there?" Can't tell male, female anymore. But they got third gender and all that. They're going insane over here because the pressure is destroying their minds. That's an indication, right? Because when your mind's under pressure, right? Their mind's under pressure, so they hold out. Excuse me. Oh, just hold on. I don't know what that was, but their whole mind is being crushed. But that's another topic. Let me see what's going on here, brothers and sisters. What was that? I don't know. Whole mind's being crushed. Anyway, this is their culture. What is this? Hold on, brothers and sisters. Just hold on for a second here. No idea what this is. Do it this way. Okay. Hopefully I do it. Pardon me for that, brothers and sisters. I'm not sure what that was. But I said the ultimate goal is annihilation. Because you got two opposing views. That said they were prepared to make war against God. If they can't see God, how can they make war against them, right? Because they know the truth that God can be seen, know that we represent, because the angel tell us that we are the seven spirits of God. If you're the seven spirits, I mean you are the God. See, they're making war against us. Have been making war against us for the last 500 years. See? In fact, they know this. I'm not going to lie stuff, but if you go back and study what you call mythology now, Viking mythology, all that stuff. See, those were scriptures. They were scripture called mythology now. Like some people even call it so-called Old Testament mythology. You know, Adam and Eve, the serpent, all that kind of stuff. Those are scriptures. I'm not going to detail. I'm not going to detail analysis of that. Right? Maybe one day I will. See, but when you go into there, right? What do they call? What did they call the Vikings? They call heaven. They call it Valhalla. Valhalla. The Valhalla. That's the hall of Allah. That's where they thought they would go to if they went in battle. They died fighting. They go to the hall of Allah. Valhalla. It's right there. See, but they say they came into being. They got the same concept as they have about in the Hadith about the Jah having one eye that was bright and the blind other eye. Same thing. Odin was the same way. He was bright in one eye and blind in the other. Same idea. That was their God, the God of the Vikings. And it said, right, because he's the same God as Satan, and it says, right, that they would fight. See, the whole idea is at first they said they came to power, Odin came to power by defeating the two titans. See, two titans were gods, and they defeated them. They didn't kill them, they defeated them. See? They didn't, well, I'm not going to say, they used the terminology kill, but they said that these two titans will come back alive in the end, and there'll be this final battle, there'll be this great battle, right, between them and these titans that they had killed that come into power. That's us. But they said, in their own theology, right, they would lose. The Vikings said they would lose, but they would go down fighting. And that was their glory. And they would go down fighting, but they would lose. They knew. They said this is their own religion. That they would lose, but and because they were down fighting, they would go to the Valhalla, right? Hall of Allah. It's right there. See? But you call it mythology now. Those are scriptures. Okay? So, their plan is to fight with us at the end and to get rid of us. So right now, how do they fight with us? They're not going to fight with weapons like guns and things, because that's not the battle. The battle is mentally right now. That's what the battle is. See? So we're gonna put some, try to connect some dots here. Now we got this they give you so many hints. Democratic Party. When you go back to the origins of that party, not that the Republican Party any better, they just have different strategies. But Democratic Party, that was slave masters' party. See? They was open. See, all America was against black folks. They kind of tell you, oh, the North, no, they're slave in the North, because you read the whole story of Harriet Tubman, you think she escaped from slavery in the South. No, she escaped from slavery from New York. And they're called Wall Street. The reason why Wall Street, that's the name that was given, because of the Great Wall they sold slaves at. That's where the word Wall Street comes. You may think all this happening, the South only controlled 20% of the Congress, 20% of the Senate, that's all. It means 80% was controlled by the North. So they could have voted out slavery. They didn't want it. They could have voted out just like that in a heartbeat. They didn't, because they had slaves up in South North too. They didn't care about you. Only time they got upset about slavery when they had to compete against it during the Industrial Revolution. And that's another story again, because the whole planet been under agricultural, right? Under agricultural society, right? For 6,000 years. That means farming and all that kind of stuff. That's agricultural. That's the kind of world they've been living for 6,000 years. They didn't have an industrial society. When did they have an industrial society? I'm talking about the Europeans. They had no industrial society. The Romans didn't have industrial society. The Greeks didn't have industrial society. None of them had industrial society. You can't go back and find anybody that had one truly. They didn't get industrial society until when? When they brought us over here. All of a sudden, after 5,100 years, all of a sudden they moved to a whole different paradigm, whole different way of looking at things. Technology, all that stuff. Never had any of it until they brought us over here. If you read the story of Joseph, you understand why. Because we are the one that drove that. Our spatial minds drove it. There was technicians, but without an ideas, a technician can't do anything. You can be the best carpenter in the world, but you need ideas. You need, somebody got to tell you what they, give you some design or something that you put together, but you need somebody to give you design or something. That's not a coincidence, brothers and sisters. And I go into Genesis and break that down to you because it says those days, it says if day and night, those are 500-year periods. Each one is a 500-year period altogether, come to 6,000 years. I'm not going into that kind of detail here. But the point I'm trying to point out to you is that the Industrial Revolution was a whole different, a whole different idea. And they had been there 5,500 years and they've never came any close to it. And all of a sudden, they bring us up. When they actually came over here, right, they still don't have any technology. The most advanced technology they had was those muskets. And the arrow was actually better than that. And that wasn't even technology. That's something they got from the Chinese. And their fireworks and carrying on. See? So they were still an agricultural society, right, up until 500 years ago. And they really not even, and they was even bad at that. Because that's why the Europeans fled Europe, Ireland and everything else, because they didn't know how to, they was really bad even in agriculture. Because they had the blight in Ireland, right? They couldn't grow anything. That's the whole story about Joseph. Remember, they was going to starve to death, and Joseph had to come and tell them what to do to save them. That's the whole story of Joseph. They had no idea. So Joseph had to come and explain to them, it was a riddle. Guys said, hey man, we're going to be starving to death. He explained to them and told them what they had to do. That's what saved their ass, saved Egypt, and what did they reward them with? They took all his descendants, his children, everybody else, they enslaved them. That's the story of us. But they brought us up here and took our knowledge, our creative ability, and that's what sparked the Industrial Revolution. And then once the Industrial Revolution came in, right? See, they didn't really need us anymore. So that's why they ended slavery, because slavery was a paradigm or a construct of the agricultural society, because you needed people to work the fields. That's what slavery was. That was a child of the agricultural society. So you had slavery. All the European countries was indulged in it to some extent. And they wasn't strict outright slavery, indentured servitude. I mean, they had tyranny in Europe like you couldn't imagine. The nobles and it was oppressing the serfs and carrying on, right? Feudalism, and they turned it on us. So slavery was an aspect of, because you need workers, right? In capitalism, the maximum profit for the minimum overhead, that's the definition of slavery. So after, when you went no more agriculture, they didn't need slaves anymore. But they're hands over here. So what are you going to do with them? So they threw us in a ditch and threw the vipers and demons in behind us. They didn't give us a 40 acres and mule. They didn't give us anything. They started a process of getting rid of us. Because the South was trying to hold on to the agricultural revolution, hold on to agricultural society. They was trying to hold on to it. See? But North was moving on to industrial. Plants, see? They went from plantation to plants. Plantation to plants, you understand? See? People working in factories and things like that. And then they didn't want to compete. And so the South started sending blacks up there in the factories and everything, and that's cheap labor. It's cheaper than they had to pay the whites. And the whites got mad with that because they couldn't compete with that. That's why they wanted to end slavery. That's the reason. No other reason. Because if you read it carefully, you don't have to read that carefully, just read it. Because first the South, the North tried to say, well, try to compromise. So okay, don't put because there was only they didn't have the Western states at that point. See, so they said, okay, the new states coming up don't have slavery in those states. You can maintain slavery in the South, the southern states, southeastern states basically, but you just can't move to another state. So they were going to compromise. Okay, you want to keep it, fine, but you can't move to new states. So I said, hell with that. We're slave, we stay right. We can have slavery wherever we want to. They were trying to compromise. They didn't want They was gonna keep slavery. They was gonna keep it. See, if the South went along with that, but South, no, we want to do it everywhere we want to do it at. See? So they didn't do that because they loved you. They didn't give a damn about you. But they just were trying to characterize it now. Read what Lincoln Lee said. The kid think he was his equal. He said that's going to be the biggest problem Americans ever have is these slaves. He said he wanted to send them back to Africa, get rid of them. And they tried to tell him he was like Abraham, Abraham in the Bible, like, I'm coming with free sports slaves. No, he didn't give a damn about no slaves. Anyway, that was the impact was economic. But anyway, we move along here, right? So the whole point, remember, this was Democratic Party. See, they was the slave owners. They was pretty much the party of the South. Then the Republican Party came in, right? And they so-called represent the party of the North, loosely. See? Because that's the whole reason why he came in, because they was trying to stop that practice of putting blacks up in and sending black slaves up in, because the money that slaves, they was still just like they were in the field. They was working their ass off, they wouldn't get paid, the money was going back to slave master. So as long as he got enough money to cost the overhead, like feeding them, whatever, and he got extra, he didn't care. So he could, if a white person would get $10 an hour, he could do it for maybe $5 an hour and still make a profit. Wouldn't give it to the slaves. And the white said, well, and so God says, well, why don't you hire this white guy for $10? I get say $5 and plus. I ain't gonna get no different from this one. You see what I'm saying? So that's what the problem was. Okay. So, and in that war, according to the Constitution, the South was right. The North just threw the Constitution in the garbage, right? Because they had states' rights, and they could hit, because based on the Constitution, we know we was 3/5 human. South had perfect every right to have slaves, do what they wanted to slaves. So actually, they was in the right as far as the Constitution is concerned. See, they don't tell you all of that. But North only, they was right by might because they was able to overpower them because they went to the Industrial Revolution, and that's where they was able to produce more rifles and more guns and more cans and everything else because now it was industrialized, right? See, your factories are carrying on. See, so they didn't need us anymore. They needed anybody because they started building things, cotton gin, all that kind of stuff. So they didn't need you out there in the field no more. I mean, they could use you, but they didn't need you like they needed before. And the South, like I said, they didn't care about it. They wanted to get rid of you. So then they planned, because at first, they wanted to exploit you. When they come along exploit you, they said, well, we can't exploit them. What we need to happen, let's get rid of them. So that's when they started to get rid of you. They saw all these groups like KKK and all that kind of stuff. Their whole purpose was to get rid of you. But first they want to re-enslave you. Because that's what the Constitution says. Your so-called freedom was conditional. It wasn't absolute. It says it right there. It was conditional. In other words, as long as you obeyed the laws, because if you failed to obey the laws, then you was to put back into slavery. That's what it says. You was only free as long as you obey laws. Remember, these are their laws. Their laws is based on their nature. So in other words, you have to disregard your nature, right? To concede to balance their nature, to conform their nature. Otherwise, you're going to be criminalized. You'll be breaking those laws. Because our nature is not saying, no matter what they tell you, our nature is not their nature. We've been here 500 years, and we're still different. You got even the demons, right? They break their neck to be exactly like master, but they got a little our blood in them, and they still has differences. So we ain't the same, and they know it. See, so if we follow their culture, we're gonna be criminalized because we're gonna fail. It's gonna be very tense on us, right? Very tense. very traumatic, right? For us to live a life obeying their laws, because it's against our nature. And look at what's going on right now. You know, original people are naturally against perversion. Naturally, they know that. They had a problem in California when they tried to pass that law on gay marriage, and blacks voted down, and they vowed, the gays vowed to get them, because they know, right? They're some more, if you use the term conservative, than even the white folks are. See? But they come in all these, where they getting all these so-called liberal values. You can't tell what's a male or female. They come from a Democratic Party. And black folks are naturally against that, yet but still they're supporting it. So you have to ask why is all this going on. Maybe we'll hit on that and explain a little more. But I'm going to get to the main issue here. So they started a path of first re-enslaving us, because that's what the Constitution says. It was conditional. But you got a market economy here. And the Bible talks about this nation, a merchant nation that would have us captive. This is a merchant nation here. So, what they've been doing is, because one thing they did is that all the so-called basic what would you call it, skills, like carpentry and painting and all the basic skills like that, right? Bricklaying, all those basic skills, right? The fundamental skills, right? Black folks had them because Master taught them because they wanted to build stuff for them, you know. So they knew all those basic skills. They wasn't getting paid for them, but they knew them. So right after so-called slavery was over, after the war was over, they went to work to make sure they had these guilds and unions and everything else to make sure you could not use those skills. So they went away. That was one of their first steps. The bottom line is to get to cut the chase, to make you unemployed. Because in this system, if you're unemployed, right, that means you can't make a living. Because that's the only legal way in this country you can make a living. So if you can't make a living legally, that means you have to do it illegally. That means, right, now you've broken the law. That means you can be returned to slavery. That's exactly this deal. I'm not making it up. That's very simple. If you break the law, you can be returned to slavery. What do you think slavery looks like in modern day times? Because remember, you're not talking about field slavery anymore. You're talking about slavery in the so-called modern world. It's prisons. Prisons are now slavery. That's a new field. The prisons. See? Now, who's building all these prisons? The Democratic Party. Mr. Clinton, the one you love so much, right? Who made the 3 strikes laws? Clinton, with Biden's backing. Biden was all on board with all of that. See? Because 3 strike laws make sure you stay in prison for life. But once you get into prison, look all the different things happen. Once you get in there, once you consider felon, then you can't work anywhere. See, so millions of people are in prison or in the prison system, parole or different levels of parole or whatever. Millions of our men. And then there's the street. And then so when you get out, if you do 10 years or whatever, you come out, right? You're all messed up anyway. When you come out, then you can't find a job. So where you heading? Right back to prison. 3 strikes. That 3rd strike could be you stole some bubble gum. Somebody accused you of stealing some bubble gum. 3rd strike doesn't matter, right? You're back in for life. Now you're not in prison for life. And you're not in there lifting weights, right? And playing chess. You in there working. In a plant, producing stuff that master's selling for some company. You have no rights whatsoever, have no access to women whatsoever. You have taskmasters all over you called guards. They just upgrade the terminology. The fact of the matter is the same. You're still a slave. You have to have total control over you, just like they did back then. Then they got slave masters, children, and demons, right? They're the ones in master's house. See? Keeping you in the field, encourage you to work in the field, encourage you to obey master, and so forth and so on. Because if they get you into the plants, right? They get you in the field, that means makes master richer. Because some plants, right? Remember, they privatized the prisons, so now companies can take and operate in these prisons and make profits for them. They're about China, they're doing the same thing here. They're about China, same thing here. So now, instead of, remember competition again? Instead of paying somebody $15, $20 an hour to do something, right? They're paying you $1 an hour. Do the same thing. And you have no say, you can't say anything, you get no holidays and get nothing. You get no retirement, nothing, because you're in prison for the rest of your life. You understand, brothers and sisters? It's modern day slavery. You're still enslaved and you don't realize it. Because it said it will come as a snare. You're still in, but you just don't realize it. Because you're not listening until your son or daughter ends up in it, then you, oh. See? So what happens when you're in prison? Millions of you in prison, right? For life. You're not making any babies, are you? So that's a form of genocide. It's a form of abortion because you're not producing. So just forget about the abortion side, because that's for the ones that's still out here. The ones that's in, right? Because if you're still out here, they got something for you, or you want to produce. Okay, you produce, but we're gonna fix it, right? Because you can't afford it. Because remember, that's how you got to begin with, because you couldn't support yourself. So now they're telling you can't have babies because you can't support the babies. So now they abort them. See? They make sure, and they send all your jobs to China to make sure you will not have them. Now they're trying to say China took our job. China didn't take nobody's job. You gave it to them. They just lied their ass off. How did China come to it? Just grab your factories? No, they gave it to it. Who had done it? A Democratic Party did it, so you wouldn't have it, because in this society you must have jobs, survive. If you don't have jobs, you cannot survive. So all the industrial jobs they sent there. So now you had no access to industrial jobs, because remember, Detroit used to be like a mecca for black people for the industrial jobs, the car industry and everything else, and now it's bankrupt. Because they sold all that overseas. They did it purposely. So you wouldn't have it. So now black folks don't have industrials. Because remember, this is the game you're playing. So if you're playing chess, you must know the rules. If you start losing all your pieces, right, then you at a disadvantage, right? And pretty soon you're going to lose your king. The whole game is lost. So now that piece is gone. See? And then they move from the industrial age into the AI age. See? Now, they really don't need you anymore. They didn't need you in the industrial age. They sent all your jobs, makes you right. So now, you're still around. Here's the AI age. See? So now, you can get the AI jobs. But they make sure that don't happen, because they brought all the Indians over. They didn't have any here. And they brought them over, took those jobs. I don't want to go a lot of detail here, but they have this thing called SIC codes, Standard Industrial Codes, right? Where every time a new industry comes online, they try to do a demographics to find out who's the demographics that's best suited to support their industry. So in other words, if they had a new industry for like boxing, that was the industry, they find people that most physically fit, because they probably most people be the best boxers. So they did a study, and you can check this out. They found out that black people were best suited to be programmers in AI. That wasn't going to happen. That's how they had a program, because Carter was president, right? So he set up a program, right? And he was a Democrat, right? To start preparing black people for the AI revolution, going to industrial to the AI age. See, there wasn't agricultural age, for 6,500 years. 6,500 years in the agricultural age. Then 500 years, it was the industrial age, and now then they move into the AI age within this 500-year period, because we're here. And all this dynamism and everything is happening in America. So why is it not happening? So it's a period. Why is it not happening in Europe? Why is it happening in Russia? Why is it only happening here? Because we're here. We're fueling it with our spatial minds. So he set this program, Urban League, because I went through the program myself personally, right? After Elijah Muhammad departed, right? So I went in there and I went through the program. It's a 3-month program where they teach you AI, teach you how to program. IBM wasn't provide the equipment and the instructors, right? Urban League provided the administrative part of it, right? And then they had a guaranteed all the community industries that they would hire the top 10% of that whoever graduated that class. And you went for 3 months and they paid you while you was going. So I went through, I made sure I came out first in my class, right? Which I did. Because a name like Raheem, right? I knew it was going to be issues, and there was issues. They still didn't want to do it, even after they guaranteed they would do it anyway. That's another story. That was the program. See, there wasn't hardly any Indians in this country at that time. Reagan came and scrapped that program. Hey, we're going to have that. Because that opened the door. Because they don't even block you in the industrial. So now, the opening goes, yeah, and you was best qualified. And that means you was going to start getting all these jobs and you're going to make all this money because supply and demand, and this is going to be a big industry. That means you're going to have to pay, right? So he crashed it. They started this propaganda campaign that India was that they was the best computer science in the world. They had a stupid movie called AI, I'm Alive, number 5 or whatever, where this Indian guy, he took his robot and gave it conscious, made it alive. So he made a super programmer. And that opened the door, just like they do with the Orientals, right? They got Bruce Lee and all them thinking that they doing all this karate stuff. So 90% of people have no idea about no karate. But you reluctant to mess with one of them because you don't want to get, you want to get karate. Right? See? So, same thing. So, oh man, look at it. See, that's how, and then they start, next thing they bring them over, they start getting all the AI jobs. See? They start building more prisons for you because you wasn't able to get those jobs. And then especially if you got a record, you're a felony, you wasn't going to get it either. Because once you got a felony, you couldn't get no job. The only way you're going to end up back in prison, unless you create a job for yourself somehow. So then lock that door and steadily build more prisons. And that's when they came up with the 3 strikes law. See? So that means if you sound great. If you mess up 3 times, they're gonna put you in jail for life. What kind of crap is that? When they make sure that you're gonna fail 3 times. That was just a way to lock you up forever. Because then you're a slave forever, because you're a slave anyway, but now they got you in a prison, they got you back on the new age field, which is a plant which is inside of a prison, right? Where you're under total control 24/7. Just as effectively as when you was in the field, working just as hard, being just as tormented. They beat you, put you in a hole, all the stuff they do, right? They can torture and do everything they want to with you. It uses the same effect. And millions of people in there, no one's talking about it. You hear sharp anybody. None of these people talk about it because they're all demons. They're all part of it because they pay just like the field, just like the master's children, right? The house Negroes. They was compensated to help master keep you under control. That was the whole purpose of the house Negro, to keep you under control. To keep you loving master, keep you doing whatever master tells you to do, and that's what I talk about. That should be scandalous. If that was happening to white people, they would break that in a minute. That should be scandalous. That they put all these black people in prison, and now that you serve your term, and then you're still marked. You can't get a job or anything else. So you paid your pill price, but you're still paying the price after you come out. I'm not even getting to this legal system, which is not even a legal system. You got to pay a lawyer and pay the, that's a whole nother story together. There's no justice in any of that. But you understand what I'm saying? So now they're closing on you again. So all the jobs going to India. So they can't export all. So they bring them over here. See, if they could industrial jobs, they could export their plants overseas. But they couldn't do that with the AI. Not all of it. So that means they had to bring them over here. So they brought them over here in droves. See? Even that's against the law. Because the law says they only can bring them over here and give them a job if they can't find American that could fill that role. But they ain't look for the Americans to fill that role. They sure ain't looking for you because they're going to make sure they'll find you. You see? And if it is, you got a criminal record, so you can't do it anyway. Because he can't hire you. So they closed that door. So now the industrial door is closed, AI's door is closed. And the whole purpose is, right, to imprison you, to make you slaves again, because that's what the law says. They criminalize you, because if you doesn't obey the law, then you can be back into slavery, just as effectively as you was in the field. And that's exactly what's happening. Exactly what's going on. See? And what was they doing when you was in the field? See? You didn't have access to your women. You watch these old slave films, everything. They don't tell you the truth about that. You did not have no access to that woman. You could not touch a black woman. You couldn't go near her. And anyway, she was always so-called broken in by mass anyway, because that's the whole thing. That was his right. Because that's called primus. I forget the name they actually used for it. That was something that hold over from Europe. But he was the first one to sleep with, if we use that word. All of them. He broke on all so-called versions, mastered that you never got anywhere near a black woman. They told you. So they make you think you was living in it. No, you was not. They kept them separate from you. And the only time you had access is they would use it as incentive. Well, if y'all, whoever produced the most cotton today, right, they could sleep with Sarah on the weekend. That's where that went down. See? But he was really, Sarah and all them, right? They was, if you wait for lack of a better word, they was all his mistress. He was sleeping with all of them. You had no access to him unless he allowed you to sleep with one of them. He was like the pimp that was pimping out his hoes. That's the way it was. Not like they tell you. It wasn't anything like that. How you think the angel tells half of the blacks in America are demons? How you think so many be demons if you had access to women like that? Come out as so-called slavery, half of the black folks were demons. So you didn't have access. You couldn't touch them, watch you 24/7. You didn't have no private time. They lock you up at night. I already talked to some of my relatives, older ones, and they told me, an uncle told me, he showed me actually where they locked them up at night, like a tool shed. They put you, all the slaves, lock them up at night so you couldn't get out. No floor, nothing, the dirt floor and everything else, so you couldn't get out. So you couldn't run off anything. You did not have any access to the females. I said I put them in. The males being one, the females being another. They didn't mix them up together. They did have situations where they had breeders, right? They picked bucks, right? And they would have access to. They had them. All they did was just create more slave babies. They did have that. That was the only function. Because they was like breeding studs, like horses. The stronger ones, the winners, they breed them out so they make stronger ones. So they want to make stronger slaves. So the strong slave everything. That's all they did. That's all their job. Just keep on producing babies. But the normal slave out there, field slave, he doesn't have access. They're like a sinner. And like if two or three, let's say whoever produced, let's say the normal average is like 3 bags of cotton, right, a day, right? So 2 or 3, you do 4 or 5. So you went over the quota. So now all 4 or 5 of you can sleep with Sarah on the weekend. That's the way it went down, brothers and sisters. That's the truth of it. See? That's how he has so many demons. So that's the whole thing. Because right now, they're putting you in prison, put your sons in prison, right? And they got your daughters out here, right? And they're under master's control. Because they ain't getting the jobs either. If they obey master, the secret master, he let them have a job. If he got a job, he gonna do what master tell him to do, because they gonna have nothing. Same old thing back it was back then. It's just upgraded. And they got the demons 24/7 trying to make sure you don't understand it that way. Think you free. When you ain't free, the same thing is going on right now. The same thing is going on right now. So eventually, between abortion and you locked up, right? Eventually, the population is wiped out. Because you in jail for life, you ain't producing anything. So you got millions of you in prison, and more coming, right? And some of you that actually get out, you'll be beyond reproducing age anyway. Been here 30, 40 years, right? Got death row, so got millions ain't producing. Then those are producing that's out, right? See? They're aborting them. You don't understand the plan, brothers and sisters? All these are democratic. See? We can talk about the Republican plan. They got a plan too. They got different strategy, different tactics. But the end is still the same. But I'm talking about a Democratic plan. It's so obvious. It's right in front of our faces. And they got you voting for it. Who? But they got most of the demons voting for it. Because demons do what mass tell them to do, because they say, okay, right? Because now demons know if they do help master and follow master's lead, right, then that means they do better. So now they're on TV, right? They're on movies, right? They're politicians, all these different things. And they do it. I didn't stand up against this. This is so obvious. Is anyone speaking out against this situation? About abortion? No. Anyone speaking about job overseas? No. Anyone talking about AI, Indians taking away jobs? No. Is anyone talking about mass incarceration? No. Even Obama, he's not a demon, but everybody loved him, right? He goes up into prison, right? Oh man, this is bad, and people shouldn't be here. And they was in smoking dope just like I was, but he didn't do a damn thing. See, it was just a show. It's like he went out to Michigan when they had that lead thing. He wouldn't go out there, and they said it was common knowledge. There was poison in blood. I don't know where this keep happening. Sister, let me check this. I gotta find why is this happening. Hold on, brother, sister, here. Okay, do it the other way. Till I figure this out. I got a new phone system here, brother, sister, so bear with me. They're doing well, just like the master. In the master's house, they're doing well. See, House Negroes doing well. See, doing nothing to help you. They're just telling you, oh, you got to go along master, you got to love master, right? His religion. Oh, that's what the message they're telling you. They ain't telling you got to get out the field, you got to run away. They ain't saying nothing about you being abused in the field, about the women being raped. They saying about none of that stuff. Just love master, love the American dream. You know, we part of this, and they get rewarded. See, because they're all over Hollywood, TV, every place. They're the politician, everything else. They're the demons. The same structure, brothers and sisters. It hasn't changed. It's just upgraded to meet the modern form. It's upgraded. Terminology upgraded. See? It's always happening, brothers and sisters. Hope you understand. That's their plan. It's not going to be fulfilled. That's their plan. So eventually you'll be eradicated. You're being eradicated now. And then just be them and the demons. The devils and the demons. See? Because they got your women. They got them under control. The women's doing whatever they do. They control the women out there, the black women, the original women. They got them out there under control. If they want to do anything right, see? They got to do what masters tell them to do. You have no idea what they're doing to them on these jobs and everything else. Because you don't have no jobs. And you say Farrakhan ain't along with this mess? That's why Elijah Muhammad was trying to confront it. He was trying to build infrastructure here for you, right? So you'd have something. He was employing black folks that was in prison, that had felonies and stuff like that. He was doing all that. That's why Thurgood Marshall, they ain't know what a bunch of fellows and everything, because he was one of them, a demon. He should have been sympathetic. He's Supreme Court justice. Y'all love him so much. He know what the whole system was. Oh man, they ain't none. They just not nothing but a bunch of criminals and carrying on. Well, why was they criminals? See, because he knew what was going on. But he didn't care. Because he didn't do anything to stop it. Because he's a demon. So that's the situation. That's what's happening. That's their plan. It's not going to work. But they're working it. See? The engine put you back in the slave and chains, which they're successfully doing every day. See? Working out there, working for nothing in these prisons, producing for them until they won't even need that anymore. Because now you go into the robotic society. That's the last phase. Look around. You've been to Walmart lately? Now they got machines and robots and everything else doing what people used to do. So that they won't need you in the prison anymore. They put robots in there. Then that's fine. Just get rid of them. We have no need for them whatsoever. That's the final stage of this plan. See, I didn't mention the part about the border, because remember, they're taking industrial jobs, China, AI jobs are going to in India. They bring them over here for that. And what about they still got the farming and stuff, still got some aspect of that. Yeah. So they make sure you can't get that either. Why? Because they bring people across the border. They getting all those jobs. Why they bring them people across the border? Why they bring Indians in? Why they get a job in China? Now China's become very powerful. Indians becoming powerful too, because now all that money is going back to India. And now they bring people across the border. They don't care if they vaccinated or they don't care. Bring them over here. And what? Whose job they're going to be taking? So now you have no access to jobs whatsoever in a society where you need to have jobs, right, to survive. It's just like, for instance, if the only way, right, you could live is you had to learn how to play chess, and you don't know how to play chess, then you ain't going to live. In this society, the only way you can survive, you have to have money. I talked about that. Money is what maintains, gives the structural integrity of this whole thing. Because it makes you think that money, that they're the God, because money is what they call energy. They got you thinking money is energy. So you think all your energy comes from money. That's why it says, man does not live by bread alone, money, but by every word that comes out of the mouth of God. That's energy. And we come from a contracted universe, but you don't understand that. So you think money is where energy comes from. So once so you think you have to have money to survive. And so therefore that's say love money is the root of all evil, because you're trying to keep money to survive is what's caused all your problems. That's why you commit crime stuff, what? To get money. And you end up in prison trying to get money to survive in this system, because you think that's unique. That's why money is a lie, it's an illusion, but they got you fast because it says the love of money. That means the need, love, right? That you think that you need of money, that's causing all your problems for you. Why I said the love of money is the root of all evil. So therefore you think you got to have money. And that's what's causing all your problems. Leading you to destruction. See? So then they end up, right? So they bring them across the border. So no job left for you at all. See? Elijah Muhammad is showing you, you didn't need to do that. See? That's why Mama showed him, no, you don't need to follow money. You need to get Elijah Muhammad, follow that program, you break that cycle, but you didn't listen. And Farrakhan made sure you never get back to that idea again. That's the whole job, to make sure you never come back to understand again. He ain't building a damn thing. He's telling you about it, he's not building a damn thing. You've been getting money. So when man robbed God, you got to understand what they're talking about there. See? Because he's taking all that, he's that darkness. You shine light into his darkness, just sucks up the light. But the moon reflects the light. Light was like a moon. Reflect that light back. So you gave him money, and he reflected back. He gave it back to a form that you could use. You get Farrakhan money, and you never see it anymore. He just absorbs it all for himself. See? So now there's no infrastructure, anything, and now the economy, look, I told you, this whole plague is an attack at the economy. I told you that a year ago. I've been telling you for a long time, and what's happening. Now you see, stores empty, they can't move stuff, right? Distribution chains broken, and they ain't even really got into this thing yet. You wait to watch what happens next week and the week after that. And when the war starts, you're going to be starving. This is just preliminary. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. This is what's going on. That's the plan. See? Get rid of all the men, and then they have your women. Then they can make all the demons they want, because the women belong to them then. Because you're in prison, you ain't getting them. So who's getting them? They are. See? You want welfare? You want a job? You got to handle master's business for them. I know you know what I mean. That's the way it works, brothers and sisters. That's their plan. That's a democratic plan to affect your final annihilation. Because with the robots coming, right, that move to the next level, they don't need you at all. So what are they going to do with you? So now they got a plan in motion. Think about it. What's this plan they got in motion right now? They saying, did you ever think about this deeply? They revealed that half of these so-called plague remedies, say half of it is saline, right, water. Half of it is so-called, right, what they call it, like what they call it, they say, to them, they call it operating system, they put in your system, they put in your body. So half is not real, it's a half of it is, so who's getting the real part and who's getting the water? So, and they won't tell you who's getting what. Add it up, brothers, just put it together. Because they don't need you anymore, and you're a problem. They don't need you anymore. They know you're a separate nation. They don't need you anymore for anything. Now with the robot age coming in, look at who you think, our culture jobs was made them. People coming across the border in droves to make sure that door is totally closed for you. AI, they bring them over here in droves, make sure that door is totally closed for you. It's not a job in China, industrial job. So what's left for you? Whatever's left, right? They got the robots taking care of that. So if you can't make a living, you can't survive, then that means you're going to have to do it illegally. That means they legally can put you, and no nation can say anything because they're not slaves, they're criminals. Who can argue with that? We put them in prison because they're criminals, whole criminal nation. And by default, that's genocide because you ain't producing any babies. They put you in for life. So they got you back on the plantation in plants, locked inside of prisons, right, with taskmasters beating your ass for life and adding more to you every day. And anyone that you escape, they make sure that anything you produce, they abort until they can catch your ass. See? And your women, they have access to them, so they can produce all the demons they want. And the demon's whole program is to catch your ass and to keep you locked up in that prison. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. I think I'm going to leave it there. We're at war. And so our people are lost for lack of knowledge. But because you're not paying attention to this here, a lot of you will be victims. A lot of you are victims already. A lot of you are victims already. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. I'm going to leave it there. Let me see. That it? Yes, yes. That's it, brothers and sisters. The plan, part 1. Assalamu alaikum.